Good day to you, one and all. It is I, Justin Hawkins. I'm bleary-eyed. I've just woken up, and this is Justin Hawkins Rides Again. Don't forget. Oh yes, please. I would love to have a coffee. Justin Hawkins Rides Again. Today is Comments Day, and I'm really excited about it. I'm actually beaming live, not live, but direct from the Mandrake Hotel in swanky Fitzrovia. That's in London. So away from my usual surroundings. Today we'll do comments of Justin Hawkins Rides Again. Again. Zoom in. Oh, zooming again. Sorry. This is going to be a tough one, but I will react to some of your missives in the only way I know how, open-heartedly and honestly. Jade MS2YS. Justin, how did you come up with the name The Darkness, and what does it mean to all of you? P.S. Love your channel. Thanks, Jade. I appreciate that. Well, Frankie always used to say that The Darkness was 3 depressives and 1 manic depressive. So what we're talking about with The Darkness is like when the black veil descends and then you can't see the good in anything. And you see it coming and you go, oh no, the darkness! Ah! And it's like a state of mind, really, that we're all afflicted with, unfortunately. And it's one of the things that informs the music choices that we make. Stephen Davies, 3563. Now, I'm more inclined to believe that there's more Stephen Davies around, but I don't know if there's 3,000 of them on YouTube. If a statue of you, Justin, was commissioned, what pose would you request? Oh, excellent question. If it was me, I would have something standing on your... Oh yeah, I would have standing on your head, legs in a V with a mic in one hand singing. Excellent. Okay, well I would go for something a bit more casual. Could you move the camera a second? You know when you're like, when you used to see those old 70s bands, they'd be like, and 80s, not actually all bands. At one point there's a promotional photograph where they're like this with a leg up. Or maybe, no, actually that's it. 1 thumb in the pocket, like that. But I would, for my one, I'd have my leg right up it. Oh, fuck, that hurts. Might have to be the other leg. Here, right up there. Looking. And then people would just go, who the fuck's that? But, you know, the fact remains, it's a quality rock band stance. For those of you who are in bands and you're doing a photo shoot, try and get your leg as high as you can, otherwise there's just no point. Thank you, Stephen, appreciate that. Let's get started. Doonites26 said, in music sense, what does describing it as posh mean? I've never heard that word being used in regard to music before. Well, I think there used to be a thing where in sort of, I don't know, Nashville or some of the music factories where you'd end up like, if you were an artist, you might turn up with an acoustic guitar and then there'd be a band that accompanies you. And if you said to them, okay, well, this chord is a C, they'll go, yeah, cool. And then they'll go, and then it goes to A minor. Oh, A minor, I know that one. F, okay, cool. And then if you said G major 7th with an additional 9, then they'd go, well, that's a bit posh. So I think what I'm talking about is like if something's harmonically more rich than just the usual triad of the root, the 3rd and the 5th, and if it's got anything additional to that, to me it just sounds posh, and I think it's the sort of thing that would create an eye roll among, you know, session musicians that have to record 5 or 6 albums in a day, because it's just more to think about, I suppose. So yeah, that's what I mean by posh. I hope that answers your question. Julie Hartley 3652 says, I'd be interested in hearing more about your role as a music producer. What exactly does it involve? Okay, well I've produced a few albums. I think most of the time, I mean, there was one occasion when I produced a record and I wasn't doing any of the writing. I think in that instance, that involves either engineering or commissioning an engineer and a studio to capture all of the sounds. And I think some of it's arranging stuff, and it's making sure that when each of the musicians and the singers go for their performances, you try and find moments that are sort of that are special, and I don't know, like looking for just little unique moments in what they're doing that can make the record sound unique, I suppose, and it's just trying to get the best out of the people that are creating their songs. And sometimes it's a writer producer thing where I'm helping them arrange, or helping their compositions to be as effective as possible. It's just helping these young folk be the best versions of themselves on record. That's a good description, isn't it? Yeah, that's basically what it is. Also, I think as a producer, the implication is that there has to be an end product, hence producer. So it's making sure that everything happens, and then what you end up with is something that you can present to either a mastering engineer or the record company, and they go, there is an album. It has been produced. Therefore, manufactured, or not manufactured. Actually, that's what they do. But done, finished, getting the job done. Being a music producer just means getting the job done, really. Spridle says, question for Justin, how do you think classic bands like Queen would have done if they started in the modern internet age? That's a good question. I never thought about that. Because I always feel like bands like Queen, I suppose if you wanted to expand that, Beatles, Stones, and these people that have defined what the music trade looks like, you'd have to have a band like Queen back then, paving the way for there to be an internet age that is, relating to music. When I think about Queen, I just think about innovation and finding ways to, especially all those harmonies, and not just the vocals but the guitars as well, and the dynamics in those records are so outrageous, and it's all recorded on tape. I just find that astounding, really. I think if they came out in the modern internet age, they would be doing stuff that was so challenging that the technology would have to change with it. And that's kind of like what the Beatles and Queen did in the olden days. They were having to invent stuff to actually realise their vision. So I think if Queen came out in the modern internet age, the songs would still be brilliant, the recordings would be amazing, but I don't think they'd be satisfied with just making the records that they made in the 70s. They'd be pushing the boundaries, and the internet would have to be better. Everything would have to be better. So I think if Queen came out now, they'd be doing stuff that was absolutely mind-blowing. Maybe they'd be even better. Dr. Stephanie Mitrano says, maybe a question for Comments Day. As a poet, lyricist and singer, how do you navigate the fine line of using your life experience, true feelings and oversharing? As a storyteller, I use my stories to help others. Some people told me I was very open, meaning oversharing, and yet I felt sharing about one's feelings, trials and tribulations and mindfucks is key to connect with others. What's your view on this? Key to connect with others. I don't know. I always think that if you can be super specific about the location, and like if you're writing about something that's like a medical condition, for example, if you're very specific about what the symptoms are and what you're talking about, that doesn't restrict it in terms of like the emotional resonance that it has with somebody who isn't suffering with that exact thing or going through that exact experience, but they can relate. I don't know, people look for the similarities in those things, so I always sing about Lowestoft, and the reason why I do that is because I know that there's a million towns in the world that are like Lowestoft, and there's millions and millions and millions of people that live in those towns, and if I'm experiencing something that's specific to that town, somebody's experiencing something that's very similar to what I'm experiencing, just in another town. It doesn't really matter what the town's called. If I happen to name it in a song, it doesn't reduce the impact that it has. Having said that, I think oversharing, it really depends on what it is. I think sometimes if you're talking about being mistreated or being a victim of something, then it can get a little bit whiny sometimes. But it can be really empowering if you just own those things and say them, because you're not going to be the only one that feels like that. That's the reality. So I don't think it matters how specific you are. Just go as comfortable as you go as close to the truth as you can, whilst being comfortable, and it'll all work out nicely. I think, right? Yeah. Oh, that's a lovely cup of coffee. Thank you. Sophie Wynn says, as a new band honing your sound and lyric writing style, how do you make your music relevant or make it appeal to today's audience? I You're asking the wrong person, I think. I don't know. Nothing I do is ever relevant, and not all of it appeals to today's audience. That's just the reality of it. I think the whole thing that I always say is like, it's finding your audience. So it doesn't matter if it's today's or yesterday's. There are people from the ages of probably about, I would say five until like 95 who are actively consuming music, and a lot of the time they're interested in new music as well. There's a huge section of the population that is not babies, not on their deathbeds, that would be interested in hearing music, because it's just one of those things that I think, I don't know, we spend our whole lives listening to it. So you'll always find your audience. I don't think you need to worry about making it relevant. In fact, if I had any advice, actually, I'd say make it irrelevant. Like, just don't worry about today's audience, because what you should be thinking about is tomorrow's audience. Today's audience are listening to... I'll give you an example. Like if you go to a writing session and they say, "Oh, what's that thing that's at number one at the moment?" What is?
Oh, Central C.
Central C. So somebody says to you, "Oh, yeah, I love this Central C record that's at number one in the charts now. I'd love to do something that's just like that." I'd be like, well, what's the fucking point? You don't want to do something that's relevant to today's audience, because they're not going to be interested in that tomorrow. I mean, not to disrespect Central C. I'm saying they're going to have to move on as well, aren't they? They can't release the same song twice and expect it to do well both times. They need to evolve and move forward. So my advice is, don't worry about what today's audience is listening to. Think about what tomorrow's audience might listen to. Barbara Hatcher, 5940. Why are there always numbers after the name now?
Barbara's taken. There's more than one Barbara in the world.
There's more than one Barbara Hatcher in the world?
Yeah, must be.
Is there? All right. Barbara Hatcher, 59. There can't be 5,942 Barbara Hatchers on YouTube. There just can't. Anyway, Barbara's upset, and I think probably understandably concerned. She goes, "Oh no, do we lose the content while you're on tour?" Dang! But congratulations on the tour. It's cool. That's a good comment, but I don't think you'll lose all of it. I mean, one of the reasons why we're here in swanky Fitzrovia, London, is because we've recorded a few of the long form podcasts, which will roll out while I'm away, so I don't have to, worry about that when I'm delighting and beguiling audiences all over the world. But I think I'll take my remote broadcasting unit, and when I get a day in a hotel, I'll react to some stuff, and we'll do things while I'm on the road. You might notice a slight reduction in the amount of stuff, maybe, but overall, we'll still be doing it. So don't worry too much, Barbara. Try and get a ticket to come see The Darkness, because you'll love it. You'll love it. You will, and the other 5,941 Barbaras will also love it. And then the Noodle Eator, with a lovely super thanks, thank you, says, speaking of songs pulled off sheaves, what does that mean? Shelves. Question for comments day. I was just reading about the Golden Record and the songs they sent aboard Voyager to represent who we are as a species to aliens. Some hitters: Bach, Mozart, Chuck Berry, Blind Willie Johnson. Question: it was sent in 1977 and there's been a lot of music since then. If you could, what would you add to the capsule from music made in the past 40-ish years to best represent us as skin tubes in the universe to aliens? What an amazing question. Oh, God. Yeah, that's brilliant. So in the last 40 years, we've got to think about what are the big moments. Okay. Well, they missed out on Highway to Hell, because that came out in 1980, so I'd stick that one on there. I think if I had to, you've got to do like a couple from every decade, so let's do Highway to Hell. Raising Hell, Run DMC, just because that album will introduce the aliens to the world of hip-hop as well, via rock. Then in the 90s, you've got to do some Nirvana, haven't you? It's got to be. But which one, though? It's got to be Nevermind, actually. I'd prefer it to be In Utero, but I think it's got to be Nevermind. I would put... maybe like oh God, it's difficult to say actually, but maybe like Radiohead, The Bends. I'd stick that in there. Is that too much? I just think that's like, it emotes a lot about disease and the human condition. I think that's one of those really, it's a great album. It really is a great album. That should be in there. And then I think like the Naughties, I would struggle with that really. It's going to have to be Permission to Land by The Darkness, the 20th anniversary of which occurs this year, funnily enough. And I think we're doing a special edition of the album with 5 discs and all that sort of stuff. But we won't go into all that just here, but it is available soon. I think pre-orders, right? Something like that. Yeah, so you'll have to forgive me. I'm right in the middle of a promo trail for that special edition. So I'm kind of used to saying that. So that one, and I don't know. As a side note, there was another space capsule that went up in the 80s, and my uncle won a competition, a photography competition. You know about this? Yeah, he won some sort of photography competition to have a photograph included in it, and the photograph was me filling my brother's Wellington boot up with a hose pipe, and I think the caption was typical children at play in the 80s. So yeah, just saying. Anyway, so thanks for all of your questions. Got a bit weird at the beginning and at the end. But remember, you can subscribe to my special mailing list. I'm not reading this. And I'm also going on tour. Oh, I'm going on tour with The Darkness in the USA in October, Europe in November, UK in, well, you can't, there's no tickets available. What?
Edinburgh, there's still tickets.
What? There are still tickets available for our show in Edinburgh, which is in Scotland, so that'll be fun. Come and see us. The link to the tickets and the dates is in the description. Thanks a lot for all of your comments. Keep them coming, and I'll try to react to them in a timely fashion, so you're not waiting too long for a response. Right? That's fair, isn't it? We'll do. I think comments is a good one to do while I'm on the road, actually. So if you have any more missives you want me to react to, just leave comments. Justin Hawkins rides again. Zoom in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, watch one of these 2 videos, and yeah, come and see The Darkness. Cheers. Again.